All right, guys, here's a little video on the distributive property. So we're going to take 6 times 46. Now notice I color-coded the tens and the ones. That's super duper important because we are going to distribute in the distributive property. Notice I made that really big. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is, like I tell you guys, if I'm going to distribute candy in class, right, your favorite, or gum, I'm going to take the bag and I have to open it up and break it apart, right? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to expand this 46. So I'm going to take this 6 times, bring it down, and I'm putting this in parentheses so that I can see my expanded form. So I'm going to take this 4, because it's 40. I'm going to write it down, the value of the 4, and I'm going to write down the value of the 6. So I've taken this 46 and I've expanded it to 40 and 6. So now I'm going to take the 6 and I'm going to distribute it, right, to each one. So I've got to make sure that the 40 gets the 6 and the 6 gets the 6. So now I've got 6 times 40 and I've got 6 times 6. Now I'm going to multiply what's inside. Now notice this has a place mover, right? The 10. So I know that I can just pretend like this isn't here for right now, and that'll leave me with 6 times 4. Well, I know that 6 times 4 is 24. So I could write down the 24. I've got to remember this place, and it's going to give me a place or a value of 240. So here's my 24. I had that place mover. I've got to move it over one place, which means I add that 0, right? So instead of 24, I've shifted it over to 240. All right, so now I've got 6 times 6. I know that 6 times 6 is 36. And so I'm going to bring my 36 down here. And now all I have to do is add these two together. And I've got 276. Let's try this again. So now I've got 2 times 52. So remember, I'm going to distribute my 2 to the, I'm going to expand this, and then I'm going to have to distribute my 2, right? So I'm going to take my 52. It doesn't matter if the 52 is on this side or on this side. I could say 52 times 2 or 2 times 52. The bigger number, the double digit, I'm going to expand. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to break it up into 50 and 2. Here's my 50 and my 2. And now I'm going to have to distribute my 2 times 50 and my 2 times 2. Here's my 2 times 50. Notice I'm keeping it together so I don't get confused. Bringing down my plus. I'm going to distribute my 2 times 2, and I'm keeping it together with the parentheses, right? So now I'm going to figure out what the value is of the parentheses. So 2 times 50 sounds huge, except, place mover. So I'm going to pretend this isn't here. I know that 2 times 5 is 10. And so if I just move it over one place, I don't have a 10. I have a 10 and then a 0, which makes it 100. So here's my 10, and then here's my 0. Bring down my plus. I know that 2 times 2 is 4. And now all I have to do is add 100 plus 4, and that leaves me with 104. Oh, I do have one more. Okay, 3 times 21. Again, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have to remember to break up my 21, right? Expand it. It's going to be 20 plus 1. So I'm going to bring down my 3 times, open this up so that I can expand it. I've got my 20 and my 1. And now I'm going to distribute my 3 times 20, my 3 times 1. And now I've got to figure out what's in my parentheses. This looks pretty scary, but it's not because I've got my place mover. So I'm going to say 3 times 2 is 6. Then I've got to move it over. Instead of the 1 for 6, I move it over to the next place, which gives me 60. And now I say 3 times 1. Well, thank you for the identity property. Remember, the 1 is like a mirror, the identity property. When it sees itself, when it looks in there, it sees itself. So a 3 times 1 is 3. And now I've got 60 plus 3 is 63. Let's see if you guys can figure this out. That's right, 30 plus 2. Remember what's next? The distributive property. That's right, I'm going to have to distribute the 5 to the 30 and the 5 to the 2. So I'm going to bring down the 5 times 30 plus the 5 times 2. Do you remember what's next? Yes, I'm going to have to figure out what's in my parentheses and what's the value. So I know that 5 times 3 is 15. Move it over this one place, which gives me the 0. So it's going to be 15 and then a 0, which gives me 150. Then 5 times 2 is 10. So 150 plus 10 equals 160. Awesome job. You guys got this.